Before New York became New York, it was New Amsterdam, the center of the Dutch colony of New Netherland. But what did the people who lived there actually wear? Their clothing tells us much more than the history of fashion. It reveals a society shaped by the fur trade, social status, religious tolerance, and a growing commercial culture. In this video, we will explore the clothing of 17th century New Netherlands, from wealthy patroons to sailors and ordinary settlers. Video goes on the history of Western fashion, English version. What did people wear before New York? Fashion in New Netherlands. Present Society for the Social History of American Fashion. Masako Hamada. Reference in Japanese is as follows. Masako Hamada. Clothing in Colonial America. Seseragi Publishing, 1996. 2024 edition. Available as a Kindle edition on Amazon. Metathesis. Reference in English are follows. Number 1. Edward Warwick and Henry C. Pease. Early American costume. T.M. Dent and Sons Limited. London, 1929. Number 2. Edward Warwick, Henry C. Pease, and Alexander Wyckoff. Early American dress. The Colonial and Revolutionary Periods. Bonanza Books, New York, 1965. This is a map of American 13 colonies. The 13 American colonies: Middle, Maryland, 1632, New York, 1664, Pennsylvania, 1681, Delaware, 71, New Jersey, 72. Characteristics of the Central Colony. Manor system. The conflict between the patroon system and the smallholder system. Production regions for grain, timber, livestock, and so on. Patroon system. The land system of New Netherland was based on the patroon system, which was established on July 17, 1625, by the Dutch West India Company's Charter, the Charters of Freedom and Exemptions for Patroons. According to this patent, shareholders who settled 50 immigrants aged 15 or older within 4 years, with at least 1/4 of them arriving in the first year, were granted a patent, and the holders of these rights, that is, the patentees, were granted land primarily in the Hudson River region, 8 miles wide, and unlimited depth. Early colonial history and characteristics of clothing. New Netherlands. Patroons are civic dress styles of the upper class in the Netherlands. The lower class tenant farmers, laborers, and sailors, wearing domestically produced clothes but sturdy, homespun, and tanned leather clothing. British fashion styles, from Spanish fashion styles to British style, the reigns of Queen Elizabeth I and King James I. Spanish fashion styles: male, doublet, trunk hose, perchadam, a display of the prestige, dignity, and power of the nobility during the Renaissance. Why did they continue to wear European clothing? In an effort not to lose the high status and prestige they had maintained in Europe, clothing as a status symbol. Highlight: construction and fashion in New Netherland. Construction and fashion in New Netherland. From 1621-23, a colony established by the Dutch, the predecessor of today's New York. New York is located between 41 and 42 north latitude, and the fertile Hudson River Valley offered favorable soil and climate conditions, making it suitable for a variety of crops. Beaver pelts in particular were a local specialty, and the fur trade became the region's main industry. Furs came to play a vital role in the clothing of the colonies. A major factor in the development of the fur trade was the convenient waterway provided by the Hudson River. New Netherland. Characteristics of early Dutch clothing. First, apart from their colorful fabric, the clothing of the early Dutch settlers differed only slightly from that of the pilgrims. Second, when viewed in the context of colonial life as a whole, which revolved around the fur trade, fur played an important role in the colony's clothing. Third, the early Dutch settlers brought looms and spinning wheels aboard their ships along with their furniture and engaged in home-based production. Every family owned 2 to 6 spinning wheels for wool and flax, and looms were also used on a daily basis. The piles of hand-woven cloth and pure white linen were testament to the diligence of the hard-working Dutch daughters. Fourth, by the 1670s, New Amsterdam had become a thriving commercial city, and foreign trade was flourishing. The homes of the New Netherland were filled with silk and cotton curtains, textiles from the east, lacquered boxes and cabinets, glass from Venice and Bohemia, porcelain from the east, and furniture made from imported wood. Fifth, unlike the Puritans of New England, the Dutch in the New World were not religiously intolerant. Rather than oppressing the people, they recognized freedom of thought and the spiritual matters, and thus there was no interference by the authorities in matters of clothing, such as the restriction on attire imposed by sumptuary laws. Men's clothing from 1623 to 75. 17th century Walloon costumes in the New Netherland jacket with a small hem flap. The doublet was closely fitted with a low waist and small front allowances. A three-quarter length coat concealed the padded shoulders. The sleeves were tight and unpuffed, while the large gathered trousers were the last example of trunk coat. The stockings were closed around the knees and tied with ribbons. Under the doublet, he wore a linen shirt with a scalloped collar surrounding the neck. His hat had a wide sombrero-like brim and a modern crown. The Walloon depicted here were Protestant refugees from Belgium who settled in the New World in 1623. About 30 families arrived near Fort Orange and Manhattan, where they worked hard and engaged in various trades. They dressed much like the Dutch in every respect. Costumes of the patroon class in 17th century New Netherland. Left, the upper garment does not fit closely to the body and had a high waistline. The trousers are knickerbocker style. Right, the upper garment is loose-fitting and long. The sleeves are full with long, narrow slashes. During the 17th century, Spanish influence on dress in Western Europe and England gradually declined after 1620. In the following decade, from 1720 to 1730, the Cavalier style, the dress associated with the royalists, was introduced from France and quickly spread throughout Western Europe. The clothing worn by the patroons also appears to have been influenced by this Cavalier style. The religious tolerance that prevailed in this colony attracted New Englanders to settle here, and French Huguenots also sought refuge from persecution in New Amsterdam, since there were neither sumptuary laws restricting clothing styles or materials nor religious restrictions. Elaborate fashion became popular among both Dutch and English citizens. The ostentatious attire of the patroon class reflected their social status under the patron system, much like the clothing of European nobility under feudalism. Unlike the artificial, sedentary fashions of the Renaissance, however, patroon clothing suited the more leisurely and free lifestyle of the emerging bourgeoisie. Sailors' clothing. As a result of the fur trade, New Amsterdam became one of the New World's most cosmopolitan cities, with 18 languages reportedly spoken there. The slave trade also brought prosperity to New Netherland and was considered legitimate business. Through Dutch commerce, New Amsterdam became a major center of seafaring, with more sailors than anywhere else in the New World. A sleeveless tunic made of coarse linen. B. A sleeveless jacket It is short in length and adorned with a scarf. C. A tunic with epaulets. D. E. A short colorless coat or jacket worn over the linen shirt. A scarf is worn around the neck. F. A shirt and a scarf, loose-fitting pants. G. A shirt and a sleeveless jacket, knee-length pants. Women's clothing from 1623-75. The attire of Dutch women in the colonies developed along the same fashion trend as that of the wives of royalists in Virginia. The materials used were silk, brightly colored calico, and other high-quality cotton fabrics brought over the East India Company's large trading ships. The woman in the photograph is one of the women who came from the Netherlands in 1623. Her bodice was stiffened with whalebone, showing the strong influence of old Spanish fashion. Slashed full puffs were attached at the shoulders. The neckline of the bodice was cut square, revealing her chemise. A starchy linen color rose from the neckline of the bodice. The skirt was gathered up around the bodice, revealing a fine petticoat. Her hair was pulled back tightly and puffed up, with a distinctive Dutch cap worn on her head. The women's costume shown in photo 26A was in fashion around 1629. The woman is likely the wife of patroon, not the form-fitting Dutch bodice. This bodice was clearly padded with whalebone and adorned with lace. Small epaulets can be seen on the shoulders. The skirt was cut to be very full, gathered at the waistline, and worn over the bodice. Greatly favored by Dutch women, these remained common even in the mid-17th century. The example shown here has a round, pleated ruff spread across the shoulders, starched and ironed to maintain its shape before being attached to gold and silver wire. The division of the 13 colonies into 3 sections. Differences in social and economic structure reflected in fashion trades. Conclusion. The New Netherland was a Dutch colony covering the Hudson River Valley, Delaware Bay Coast, and Long Island. The Dutch established agricultural colonies under the patroon system and traded furs with Native Americans. Its religious tolerance attracted settlers from New England and French Huguenots seeking refuge. Since this colony had neither sumptuary laws restricting clothing styles or materials, nor religious restrictions, highly elaborate fashions became popular among the Dutch and the English. Furthermore, as a result of the flourishing fur trade, New Amsterdam became one of the most cosmopolitan cities in the New World. Consequently, although the sailors were drawn from a variety of ethnic backgrounds, their clothing, like that of the indigenous peoples, underwent similar changes and developments. Thank you for watching. New Netherland was a Dutch colony covering the Hudson River Valley, Delaware Bay Coast, and Long Island. The Dutch established agricultural colonies under the patroon system and traded furs with Native Americans. Its religious tolerance attracted settlers from New England and French Huguenots seeking refuge. Review of the next episode. Longing for French fashion in America. Western dress history through film lecture 35. In the wake of the French Revolution, the bold, antiquity-inspired fashion of the Melville youth crossed the Atlantic and captivated America's elite. Through letters from French immigrant Josephine Dupont and Charleston socialite Margaret Manigault, this lecture explored women's fascination with and ambivalence toward Parisian fashion.